So the Indian team broke away from the usual trend of not enforcing a follow-on by enforcing a follow-on, and the dividends was there for everyone to see, because India wrapped up this test match inside 4 days versus South Africa. South Africa dismissed there in their fourth innings for 189 all out. It's once again Umesh Yadav amongst the wickets, so did Ravindra Jadeja, both of them picking up 3 wickets. Not much to show as far as the South African batsmen are concerned, apart from Dean Elgar, the star with the bat in the first test match, also getting 48 here. Temba Bavuma with a 38, and then it's the tail once again, which wagged just a bit, with Philander getting 37 and then Keshav Maharaj 22. In the end, India runaway winners, winning this match by an innings and 137 runs. You're watching ESPNcricinfo Matchday. I'm Nikhil Naz. With me is Ajit Agarkar. By winning the Pune Test match, India have not only won a Test series versus South Africa, but have also notched up plenty of records. There are a few to look at. Firstly, this win by an innings and 137 runs is India's biggest win over South Africa in Test match cricket. Also, this is India's 11th consecutive home series win. They've beaten Australia's record of 10 home series wins on our trot. And then Kohli's 30th win in his 50th Test as a captain, which is the third most by a captain. So the success rate there is very high. 50 Test in the 50 Test matches, Steve Waugh had 37, Ricky Ponting 35, so he's third on that illustrious list as well. Ajit Agarkar now joins me. Just looking at that 11 consecutive wins, it's sort of become a trend of India winning at home, but you'd have to say amongst all those series, there was plenty of talk with conditions helping the Indian bowlers. This probably has to be the most neutral of pitches that you've seen.
Yeah, it tells you what a good bowling attack does. I think, and he has a variety of bowlers that can do well on different conditions. Yeah. Yes, Ashwin and Ravindra Jadeja have had a big say in how those series have been won over the last few years, but his seamers have done just as well. I mean, you look at Umesh Yadav coming back and doing well, so yeah, must be very satisfying as a captain. Again, these conditions were not typical Indian conditions. Both games, the ball spun. Okay, today is the 4th day, so you expect it to spin. But it's not been a minefield where the batsmen couldn't score runs if they were determined enough. So must be very satisfying for Virat, and very disappointing from South Africa.
I'm just looking at the World Test Championship. India way ahead of all other teams. As you've mentioned, the Indian team is doing well. It also talks about the current bowling attack that India has, which has been doing well. If there is only one area of concern they'd have to look at, it's still that getting that tail out. I was just looking at all other teams, in international cricket, and it's India who's bowled the most to tail enders amongst all other nations. Something to ponder over.
Yeah, surely. I mean, I think Bumrah that's where Bumrah's made a bit of a difference. I think even in England, I think Karan made India pay a couple of Test matches. They couldn't get them out.
Cummins in Australia, we remember.
I think if you have teams at 150 for 6 or 7, I think you wouldn't mind a odd partnership. I'm sure they would want to wrap it up quickly. So Maharaj and Philander batted really well in both innings. Once the ball gets softer, you've seen, becomes a little bit easier. Tired bowlers as well, in spite of that overnight rest and not a lot of bowling for the seamers yesterday. It's still, you're out in the field for over 150, 160 overs. You're bound to have spells where if the batsmen do fight against you, there are going to be periods. India would like to wrap up the tail early, but they're getting the job done, and that is what is important. I mean, to beat any team inside 4 days on a good pitch, on a pitch again which wasn't unplayable, tells you how good this bowling attack has been.
Okay, one thing that's really not happening for South Africa is their batting. They got the batting order right. You were of the opinion that Faf du Plessis should come at number 4, and then de Kock also higher than Bavuma. They did all of that, but still just not happening from that very first ball when Umesh Yadav got Markram. Since then, it was downhill for them.
Yeah, I mean, Ishant Sharma today. So, yeah, and first ball again, Ishant Sharma to Markram. That's the thing, you need some sort of starts. I mean, Dean Elgar's shown how to bat. Markram's been all at sea, whether it's against spin or seam in both Test matches, which is then hard for guys to follow against the newish ball. I think we saw Faf du Plessis say after the game, the attack's just relentless, and there are guys who follow. I mean, that's been the strength of the great Australian teams, or even South Africa when they travelled. They had bowlers after the first 2 backing those guys up, enough quality. India's got the same at the moment. The team selection was spot on. To play 3 seamers was the right call to get on this pitch, and now Umesh Yadav proved that. It's and they didn't play 3, resisted the temptation of playing 3 spinners, which could easily have been the case. But this pitch, with a little bit of reverse and a bit of carry. It was tailor-made for playing three seamers, which was the right call. So, yeah, but very disappointing from South Africa. We've not seen any fight at all from their batsmen. Dismissals again. If South Africa had been told these were the two pitches that you'll get for the first two tests, they would have taken it. It wasn't a square turner. Indian bowlers had to bowl well. I mean, they've got enough quality. They had to work hard at times. Apart from a couple of partnerships, couple in this test from Maharaj and Philander, and one in that first test from de Kock and Elgar, there's nothing that's shown that South Africa can fight against this Indian team over 5 days. So it must be very disappointing. Yes, there's a lot of inexperience in the team, they are in a rebuilding phase, but there are guys there who played enough test cricket. So disappointing performance when you don't see a contest or you don't see enough fight from the opposition.
Indian bowlers have been outstanding. Let's just compare the two fast bowling units, because as far as the spinners are concerned, you'd clearly say that India has the edge. But when the series was starting, you thought if there's one area where South Africa can compete or probably be even better than the Indian team, could be in the fast bowling department. That hasn't happened in the series so far. We're just taking a look at this second test match in Pune, and these are the number of overs. They're roughly the same, even though you got to see that South Africa batted twice. You've got 63 overs for the Indian pacers and 81 there, and look at that average, 19 versus 86. But on paper, you see Rabada, you see Philander, you don't think it's going to be as bad as these numbers suggest.
Yeah, I mean, Rabada still had a good test, this one, but the support hasn't been great. I mean, Ngidi, we don't quite know. We heard him say that they're getting his workload up. If he wasn't quite ready for the test match, it's a bit of a surprise that he's in the squad. If he wasn't ready to play 2 out of the 3 test matches. Nortje, first
Debut,
test. But there's a lot to work with. I think he's going to be a handful in South African conditions. We've seen obviously the pace, but a quality bowler as well. I mean, South Africa would be hoping that he develops. I think Philander's a bit of a question mark for me for all the wickets that he's got in Test cricket. 60 Test matches? That's a lot of Test matches for a fast bowler and a really good record. But in these conditions, with his pace dropping even more with time, whether he's the guy that they need to rely on. South Africa, again, he's going to be a handful with the way he bowls. But I think looks like he's starting to become a lot more condition specific than even more so than before. And these aren't easy conditions once the ball doesn't zip off the pitch as much. So yeah, I thought that they looked like having the attack before the series started, which could challenge the Indian batsmen, but maybe not for long periods of time. There were times in this test match the Indian batsmen were good enough, fought through those sessions, even in the first test on that first day. But apart from that, we haven't seen anything to suggest that this attack was good enough to challenge Indian batsmen in these conditions, unfortunately.
We'll leave it at that. Thanks so much for your thoughts. Plenty of positives there for the Indian team. Not only is their 11th consecutive home series win, it's the biggest versus South Africa, and also they've tick-marked all the other things that they were looking forward to. Umesh Yadav's comeback has been very successful. So has it been for R. Ashwin. So plenty of positives there for the Indian team as we wrap up our discussion on the second test match between India and South Africa.